So we'll start it up. Welcome to the May 26th school committee meeting. This meeting is being recorded. If anybody else is recording any portion of it or all of it, please let us know so we can enter that to the record. First order of agenda is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag to my left and right. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next thing we do is I'm going to step down. I step down.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will act as what is called the chair pro temp for the purposes of nominations. So at this time, I open the floor for the committee for nominations for chair.
Nominate Dan Sheedy, chair.
I second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, can I have a motion to close the nominations?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Acting as the pro temp and seeing no other candidates, I thereby enter one vote into the record that Mr. Sheedy is now the chair of the school committee, and I turn over the meeting to Mr. Sheedy for the election of remaining officers and positions. Mr. Sheedy.
Thank you very much. This time I would open or entertain a motion to nominate for vice chair.
I would nominate Sherry Cohen, and I have spoken to her and she would accept it.
I second.
Any other nominations? All right, motion to approve Sherry Cohen as the vice chairperson of the North School Committee.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving along, we have to
Legislative rep.
legislative representative currently is myself. There's nobody else that wants it. I would entertain to remain.
It's all yours.
It's all yours.
Do we have to vote on these individually or just?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, entertain a motion to approve Dan Sheedy, legislative representative.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Negotiations reps, there are two currently. It's Dinesh and Carolyn, and we're in the midst of negotiations.
We're not in the midst, we're actually in the final stage.
Yes.
So we should, I think we should retain that for at least this year.
Yes.
All right, entertain a motion to approve Mr. Savas and Mrs. Gallagher as employee negotiations representative.
Can I so move myself?
I was like,
Yes, you can move yourself.
Okay. I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Capital improvement,
Capital improvement currently is Mrs. Cohen.
I did not actually ask her. She
I know she likes it, and it's one that's really beats just during the height of budget season. So I mean, we can hold it until she's here to ask her, or someone else will take it.
Why don't we hold it? This,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
me too.
No, because we have
She's-
coming up.
Yeah, and
Right.
she may want to.
CPAC, which is our special education PAC, that was Captain Stern. That's a PAC that's legislatively done by law, and we have to have someone who plays that interperson with you folks. So, what's
I can-
happening?
Pick up if nobody wants to do it.
Okay.
If anybody else is.
Entertain a motion to approve Mrs. Gallagher as the special education PAC representative.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And not listed as permanent building?
Yeah, permanent building committee, which currently is Sherry, Ms. Cohen, excuse me, and she does not want it.
Okay.
At this time.
Sounds
So that committee works, its meeting has a specific date. It's a Monday night, and they meet, and really that position is more of a liaison. It's really to give them updates on our building project, and get information from them. Sometimes it doesn't require that you stay the entire time, and right now, they're just really getting to the beats of their projects. So.
Yeah. All right. Entertain a motion to approve Nick Schleicher to the Permanent Building Committee.
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then there was only one request. We currently have the warrant signed by Sherry first and Dan. Just because of the summer months too, is it possible to add a third person? It just gives flexibility when people are away.
I can actually, if it's a third person, if nobody wants it, and I don't want it, by the way, let me be very clear about that, but if nobody wants it, I can probably do it simple. So
Okay, perfect.
in the past, I
Right.
probably can.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want? I can't imagine it.
All right, entertain a motion to approve Mr. Savas as the third signer of the warrants.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Good. So the next order of business is the recognition of the Norton Middle School Scholar Leaders. Dr. Beck and Mr. Avery.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, to the public as well. This is some of the fun times that I have as superintendent, you know. So I'd like to recognize at this time Norton Middle School's scholar leader, Benson Chang. Benson, come on up. For the write-up goes, each year 2 grade 8 students from each middle school across the state are selected as scholar leaders. The scholar leader program is designed to recognize and further promote the next generation of successful leaders. Congratulations on your selection as a scholar leader at Norton Middle School. Pleasure. Thank you. And quick photo. Congratulations to the family as well.
Thank you.
I'd also like to recognize, and also a member of my superintendent's advisory representing the 8th graders, Taylor Collins. Taylor is the second nominee here, or recipient of the grade 8 students from across the Commonwealth as a scholar leader designed to recognize and further promote the next generation of successful leaders. And I can tell you she is a leader because I know she's very involved and a really good athlete too. Congratulations. My pleasure. Congratulations to the family as well. And I'd like to add 3 more for tonight. I'd like to, well, let me do this last one. So we would like to recognize formally tonight Benson Chang for 2022 Project 351 Student Ambassador. Come on up. And can you take 2 seconds to talk about how the project went?
Yes, of course. So we donated a total of 62 bags to Cradles to Cranston Goodwill. Mr. Goldstein and I dropped that off at Gillette maybe a couple months ago. But Carolyn Casey is our co-founder at Project 351, and she wants to thank you all for continuous support, promotion of our youth-led movement. And we had a very successful year, normal, and we just wanted to thank you all.
Awesome. He's only in 8th grade, by the way. We would like to recognize our salutatorian tonight as well. So I'm going to bring up the salutatorian, Courtney Cass. Read a little bit about Courtney. Courtney has been a very active student at Norton High School. She was a member of many honor societies, including president of the National Honor Society. She volunteered her time as a student leader in the Principal's Advisory Committee and was a student representative on the COVID reopening committee. Courtney has been active in many clubs such as Debate, Best Buddies, and Global Citizens. Courtney has won several awards for her artwork, including a Scholastic Art Award honorable mention. She plans to pursue a career melding her 2 passions of art and history. I do love one of them, history, for the record. She plans on attending Providence College. Congratulations. Signature. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And to the family as well. Okay, here it is. Valedictorian Abigail Leah. Abigail was a member of many honor societies as well, in which she held several leadership positions. She was an active in many clubs, including DECA and Global Citizenship. She was captain of the NHS volleyball team. Abigail demonstrated leadership and commitment to community service by participating in a Teen Advocacy Day with Senator Markey and former U.S. Representative Joe Kennedy, and playing piano for several benefit events. Abigail is passionate about molecular biology and has taken advantage of many opportunities to visit industry sites. She plans to pursue a career in medical research after attending Washington and Lee University. Congratulations. And I will see you guys at class night and graduation.
Gonna be there for both.
Yes, I know you are. So congratulations to everyone that's been recognized tonight. Thank you all for being great students, and thank you to the family as well, and to my staff who support us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And they know their speeches, right?
Yeah.
Speech.
Yes.
Speech.
Plenty of speeches.
Don't get
Now,
food.
You guys are really lucky though. The former chairman is not giving the speech. That they're long.
They're passionate,
They are passionate, but they're long.
they're comedic with a dramatic twist.
Okay.
Ready? I'm like the M. Night Shyamalan.
Now I know where Malia gets.
Yeah, she's right now.
Yeah.
Right, she's. Yeah.
All right, congratulations, everyone. I've said this publicly, I don't even know how many times. Celebrating our students is the best part of what we do. Benson's been here a couple of times now. I've known Taylor since she was that big. And to you two, congratulations. It's wonderful the opportunities you have before you. And we thank you for giving back to Norton and wish you the best. Next order is to approve the meeting minutes of the May 12th open session meeting and executive session meetings. Everybody had a chance to.
I would say you absolutely can leave if you want.
Yes.
That's it. That's the whole show.
Mike,
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, as mentioned, entertaining motion to approve the minutes from the May 12th open meeting and executive session meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay. Entertaining motion to approve the minutes as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next order of business is the school warrants. I have reviewed and approved the following school expense and payroll warrants. School expense warrants for May 19th, $1,020,744.85. School payroll warrants for May 7th, $1,038,888.48. May 19th, $1,056,281.39. Public record. Next order of business is the student representative update. Is Malia present?
She is here.
Yes, I am. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
you can. Take it away.
Okay. Let me throw my camera on. So I'm actually outside the middle school right now because I just watched the Norton tennis team win. They're back there. They did awesome. Okay, so it's just going to be me today, but I'll start with the LGN. So Mrs. Luke said that they have field day coming up. There's a field trip to Oak Knoll Nature Center and a field day for all of the other grades. It's kindergarten separate. The annual Memorial Day concert is tomorrow, and they're having spirit days throughout the week. Let me see. At the JCS, they're celebrating Memorial Day with a concert. Just like the LGN, they are welcoming 6 local veterans and multiple veterans of JCS families to the outdoor concert. The Sea Turtle Day that we told you guys about was a huge success, and everybody had a ton of fun learning about sea turtles and their school mascot. Mr. Gagan said that from Memorial Day on Friday, they are doing readings by 5th grade students on the announcements and throughout the day about the importance and significance of Memorial Day. They also have anti-bullying presentations happened today and tomorrow for their 5th grade students. And they also have a field day planned with their spring concert coming up for the first time in 3 years after COVID. For Mr. Hayward, the middle school, he said that they're holding their annual Memorial Day assembly tomorrow. On Wednesday, they had a Day of Awesomeness field day that featured obstacle courses, an ice cream truck, and was sponsored by the NMS Parent Board. And then their field trip for the 5th grade transition to NMS will take place on June 8th, which is when the Yell kids come over and see what it's going to be like to be in middle school. And I remember that. It was really cute. And then on June 17th, the 8th grade dinner dance will be held again at Norton Middle School. So then for the high school, Mr. DeJoy, the music teacher, wanted me to mention that they just participated in the Great East Chorus and Band competition, and both of them did amazing. Mr. Dolman told me to talk about the Memorial Day Assembly, which is tomorrow, and I'm emceeing it, so hopefully it'll be good. We're having veterans coming in. We did like a mural outside, and then we're going to have, performances and stuff and readings from kids who did essays for it. Yeah, and we have for my junior class, we have the We Are Seniors Week coming up on the week of June 6th. We're all going to dress up together and like do the themed days and stuff. And soon we have the history field trip around Norton to teach kids in the younger grades about like toward Norton and the history of their town. So I think that is it. Like I said, the tennis team just won. The sports are doing great. So I think that's it for me. And I think some of you guys will be hearing from the new student representative who wants to introduce himself over email because he couldn't make it today. But Antonio will be doing that soon. So I think that's all for me, if that's good with you guys.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Malia.
Thanks, Malia.
Thank you.
I want to put mine from my backyard. Live from my backyard during a school committee meeting.
I'm seeing something doesn't tell me.
I have the same type of home too.
Complete surprise.
Yep.
Also, my 8th grader did tell me she was chosen to do all my.
It's probably told you like a year after it actually happened.
I was told me that she had to go shopping.
That's nice.
There it is.
And as you can tell, Malia, that was a nice interview if she wants to be a sports, a newscaster. She really did a nice job.
With the whole shady camera in it.
Yeah. Take it here, right? You got it.
Yeah, do we have to do the executive session?
We did them
We
both.
just, oh, we did both?
Yeah.
Oh, missed that, my fault.
All right, the next item is proposed amendments on regulation on Mcas, competency, determination, Dr.
Well, I know that Morton's committee loves nothing more than to talk about MCAS, so I'm happy to be here tonight. I wanted to share just a couple slides with you so that our audience here and at home really understand what these changes are. So ultimately, the changes that DESI is proposing would actually establish a new competency determination for students that are currently in the classes of 2026 through 2029. And I know those years seem like very, very far down the road, but that's actually beginning with our current 8th graders. So these proposed changes were presented to the board on April 26th. They are actually open for public comment through June 3rd, so that's why we're here tonight. And then they expect final action to be taken by the Board of Education by the end of June.
Why is it only 3 years?
So ultimately, I think what they're looking for is that right now we only have ELA, math, and science, technology. They are anticipating that at some point they're going to be adding a history social studies exam. However, we've also been talking about that for roughly 20 years. So I think they're trying to get the next few years out of the gate and then kind of see how it goes.
All right, so if they don't propose extending it, it'll sunset.
I don't think so. I think ultimately they'll probably update it as we get a little bit closer.
Okay, I mean, but that's what their intention was to only do it 3 years.
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
Was this the same news report that made this a graduation requirement?
It is a graduation requirement, yes. So I just want to kind of go over the major components. So as many of us remember, a few years ago, we transitioned from the legacy MCAS to the next generation assessment. And so at that time, the entire scoring system changed. And students needed to get a 240 in math and ELA in order to reach that graduation and the competency determination, and a 220 on science. So I've actually seen several news articles that have been talking about the how DESE is proposing to increase the standard. This amendment is actually not increasing the standard. It's just aligning the standard with our current scoring system. So I can't make any predictions on what DESE may do in the future. However, at this time, they're not actually looking to, increase the scoring component for students. So the new criteria is a 486 for math and ELA, and then science is a 470. So you can kind of see where those numbers fall on the scoring rubric. So ultimately, students for science just need to meet that partially meeting expectations, and then it's right in the middle for ELA and math. The other major change is the EPPs. So students that do not reach that threshold of 486 for math and ELA need to get at least a score of 470, but they also have to complete an educational proficiency plan. Some of the changes that DESE is proposing in these amendments is a new requirement around an updated EPP every single year while a student is enrolled at Norton High School. We also must offer tutoring or other individualized academic supports, and that we need to include local diagnostic or summative assessments to show that students are making progress towards these goals over time. These are all new requirements that come with the changes in the regulations.
Can I just add something?
Yes, please.
Just for the sake of argument. I just want you to know what this really means, right? So this is a student is a sophomore, or science is a freshman, doesn't reach that score. We're creating an entire file for this student, potentially courses. This is adding staff. This
Well,
is
that's
an
what I was
unfunded
going to
mandate.
ask. So when they brought up this sort of expectation, who covers the financial cost of it? And how does it actually logistically play out?
It's an unfunded mandate. So I actually, Vinny and I met earlier.
That's, yeah, I was
Isn't it
going to
crazy?
say the same
Well,
thing. That's just
typically
sort
it
of-
comes from the legislature. This is coming from DESE
Right.
via the board. And I think that's what the school committees have to recognize, is that we're going to have potentially students on plans for a minimum of, let's say, 2 years, junior and senior year. And I get the idea that we want to show that students are improving, but the fact is that this is a paper trail nightmare.
And what authority does DESE have to require us to hire people?
Full authority. No, to hire, no,
Right.
but to do
But that's what
it,
this
yes.
is, right? So it's a de facto hiring. They're forcing us to hire.
Yes.
So how
With
is
no
this?
funding.
Right.
How is DESE made up? Like what? Like is it educators? Is it?
It's representative bodies that come from private business. There's a student representative on the board, and then appointments by the governor.
Are there any educators on there?
There are one or two, one representing the Teachers Association, and I think one other person is a school committee member who's also an educator. I can get you the specifics.
They're listed on
Yeah,
the website as well.
I'm just curious if they truly have the student body of Massachusetts in their best interest, because it sounds like they don't. In my opinion.
So Vinny and I met earlier this week with the administration at Norton High School, and we kind of, went through the whole document with a fine-tooth comb and really came up with some feedback that we have as educators that we will be putting together for the department and, before that January 3rd deadline. So this is way too much. Thank you.
Don't wait till January 3rd.
Yeah, they don't get
You know what I mean.
Can we go back to slide 2?
Sure.
Where are we currently falling? No, sorry, one more.
Okay.
Where are we currently falling on this scale? From an
So this
average
is an
standpoint?
individual student scale. So when students take the MCAS exam, the
Correct.
parent report that goes out, every single student has something that looks like this for both math and ELA, and then the grades where they take science. So depending on the grade level and the assessment, we have a large majority of our students that are in the blue and green sections in terms
Do
of,
we have an average number?
off the top of my head, I would say that at the high school level, our grade 10 students, which is this really relevant to, I would say probably 65% of our students are in the blue and green. It really depends on the school year. We sat down and went through our current junior class, and the majority of our students that aren't on target to meet that, it really came down to a math assessment.
So
They passed the ELA, they passed science, but they were struggling with math.
So what's, I guess back to that point then is, what are we looking like in terms of how many students, percentage-wise, could fall below that, and then we're putting them on plans and
What are
staffing
these
wise?
EPG plans? I would say it's good.
And again, we don't need,
I'd say about 15%
I'd
of
say
our current juniors.
probably no higher than 15%, and you're gonna see, more math than
Yes,
ELA.
always.
So our ELA scores for students at that higher end is like 90 plus,
Yes.
usually 93, 94, 95, and then our math is 88, 89, 90. We've had some years at 91 as a whole. So now, so it's not, it's the problem is that if we all remember high school, this is all about building the transcript, right? So that you can decide to go to the workplace or to go to college. And this is just going to take you can only do so much in a day. You can only do certain classes in a day. So you're not going to be, and there are kids who don't test well and are taking calculus. And now they potentially might not take the calculus.
And we
Think
were
about
having those conversations the other day when we were looking at our student, at our student
But
rosters.
this is why this is a little bit BS, right? So, and Nick, to your question, if you look at the scores, and it's not Norton, it's holistically across Massachusetts or whatever, the scores from, I think they started third grade.
Yeah.
Third grade. The scores are much more dispersed across the line. There's enough kids in the partially and not meeting to be, what you would consider like, oh, that's a real concern. And it continues right to the 10th grade when it's a requirement. And then all of a sudden, 88, 90, everybody's great all of a sudden. So, in my opinion, I've said this before, that I'm not breaking any new ground. The test is bogus. They're not really measuring to like make sure that everybody's educated. They make these tests, normal tests, until it really matters, and then I don't want to say they make it easy because it's not obviously like easy for everybody, but they kind of dumb it down a little bit so that, okay, well, now everybody's passing all of a sudden. And you can't tell me like from whatever, the 8th grade to 10th grade, everybody all of a sudden buckled down and started studying. So the idea that they're telling us, oh, you have to do all this to get to this place where you can get people in the meets proficiency, et cetera. We all know they're going to get there anyways, right? Because that's how the test is set up. So they're going to cause us to hire a bunch of people to put all these unfunded mandates into place so that we can make sure that these guys are blah, 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 this, that, and other. And in the end, they're going to get there anyways, and they would have got there if we did nothing.
And you're checking a box to say that junior got tutoring in math.
Right.
You're checking a box that they took a certain class. And that to me is tracking.
Yeah.
That's what we're not supposed to be doing.
That
Was
could
to allow
hinder
for students, that could hinder students moving forward. So you've taken the test, you've passed the test, and you passed it with a low score. That's basically what we're talking about. Happens to everybody. And the fact is, it hasn't stopped us from hiring people or graduating. I just think that this is, they just aren't recognizing what's happening here. And again, the impact on telling a high school junior that you need tutoring, or a high school junior that you can't take a certain elective because I have to force you into this elective, which is now a selective. So you're taking your regular math class, but you want to take journalism because you like writing, but you struggle more in math, and now I got to put you in a remedial math course for a semester. It doesn't make any sense to me. And kids know it, and psychologically, it does not support the social emotional concept of mental health for kids. Hey, I got to go into that class. That's not how kids think. They don't want to be told something like that when they're in high school. I mean, if they fail a class and they have to retake it, that's one thing. But the idea that I took this high stakes test, I did pass it, but it's not with a high enough score, now I have to do this as well, doesn't make any sense to me.
So Jen, when is this, what is sort of the logistics of this? What they're suggesting this for the current
So
10th
this is
graders?
our current 8th graders.
Current 8th
Yeah,
graders.
so students that come up, as many students take the science assessment in their freshman year based on whether they're in biology or physics, and then some take it as sophomores. So that once a student gets below that 470 on science, we kind of kick into gear in terms of what our responsibility is to the student. So, so really it is going to begin with our current eighth grade class. So as I mentioned, we went through the plan and kind of came back with some, feedback that we have. This is basically what we're discussing here. I apologize for all the words on the slide. Currently as a district, we offer math strategies, we offer study skills classes, we offer smaller class sizes for students that are struggling in math. However, if we're really going to be looking at targeted interventions that for students, this is a number one, a staffing issue and a time issue, and there is no funding for those types of things. DESE used to offer a summer Mcas academy that we ran for a number of years, and it was very successful. That grant has not been around, I'd say probably for the last 8 years. So it's definitely a funding issue. They also talk about that DESE can approve assessments. There's no information on what those assessments may be. So it's really difficult for us to say, do we have anything that would qualify in our current bag of tools? So again, if we had to adopt a new diagnostic assessment for our high school students, again, that would be another funding challenge and something that doesn't look like it comes with any funding.
So 2 quick things here. Number one, think about the elimination of fine arts. That's what's going to happen in school districts. I guarantee you that's not going to be my recommendation, because you guys all know how I feel about that. We're trying to build it, not eliminate it from the original concept. Here's the second thing. I'm a little, this is something for the big fellow, the big guys, if you will. Further information on assessments approved by DESE. So, and they give you the regulation. I'm not sure that besides, there's been legislation about Mcas, but I've never seen legislation about the DESE has a requirement. They're saying that they do, that they have the ability to tell us what tests can be approved.
Well, DESE is also at the same time trying to tell us what curriculum is approved and is supporting that with grant funding for districts that are using said curriculum. So I think they're continuing
doing it
that
backwards.
overreach.
You're seeing more and more state control of things that we've never seen here.
By people who are not elected.
By not only not elected, but really don't recognize, like most of these rules and regulations is because there are communities, I'm not going to say who, but there are communities that do need to spend more time on curriculum and assessment and teaching practice and that. We do pretty well, especially to Dinez's point, as kids are leaving us, graduating and entering the workforce or college. And I don't think it's been because of one test. No. I think it's been.
I know you love when we talk about it. We also talked about, the expectation of Mcas. Why are we not allowing students to demonstrate their Master of Learning in other ways? Giving us the opportunity to look at local assessments and the way that we're supporting students through state standards here. And then also, what does this plan look like? There is no consistency across the state when it comes to these proficiency plans, and that we believe that DESE has the obligation to support districts in creating these plans and developing a best practice to what we can do within our building and really creating more of a resource library for our high school. So those were just some of the recommendations and the feedback that we came up with from our perspectives. So I will be putting together a letter from our department and welcome you all to do it.
Jen, I think if you could include something about that sort of SEL piece. I think we've worked for however many years to really promote that. I think testing isn't really supportive of SEL. And I think to your point, Joe, if we are going to need to offer support to students, I'm not sure that the way that potentially it's being proposed is really supportive to emotional wellness. So if you could include that, that would be great.
Absolutely.
I think my couple of big points on this is, we had this big discussion around midterms about alternate assessments, and we hope that our staff likes that portion. And I think the other part of this is a question: the EPP, is this going to be legally binding, like an IEP, or is this just a suggestion?
What will happen
so
is,
many holes in this. I don't know where to start. But where's just the most common?
so Dan, that's a great question. So typically the way that this goes is it goes down the road of an audit of the district. they will know and check to see how many of our students should be on an APP. And then if we're not doing it correctly, so on and so forth, then we'll see the raft of an audit that says we're not doing it. And then potentially everything from rules established. And I will tell you this because you know my history. I walked into a level 3 district, my first superintendent's job, not this district, a different district. And I was under these types of guidelines. And I can tell you, auditors and visits and reports is all we did for a year and a half, 18 months. And we don't need that, any of us. And so you're absolutely right. What does this really mean? There is no college that is going to be looking for anything except, did you graduate? They're not asking what's your MCAS scores. And there are students who do very well who get that tuition break from the state colleges and universities and all of that. But besides that, you're absolutely right. We have no idea what this really is.
Well, I mean, I think too, I mean, if you're a student who in school is not your thing, but you get by on the skin of your teeth, you know you're going in the workforce, you know you're going to fight for the country if you sign up for armed forces.
Right.
And, you know, to the other point, there's scholarships for these, but I would love to see the number of students that are actually using that advantage because they passed this test. I mean, you know, if I'm going to hire a kid to work at, you know, my company, I could care less what his MCAS score was in high school. He's coming right out of the high school. It's not something, it's not tangible. The only one that seems to care is DESE, because most districts, I don't think, really put a lot of stock in MCAS.
And then I think to your point, and to Carolyn's too, that the students that are, you know, getting by on the MCAS are not the kids who then need another class on the area. Why are we not?
Especially if
You're taking away the opportunity for them to take courses that are in their interest, take courses to prepare them for careers, get those extra courses that, you know, college may look at and say, all right, you know, you have a pretty diverse background here. We're going to take a shot on you. And again, they're never even looking at the MCAS. So that to me is where they're hurting those kids that they're reporting to help.
And I could go on about this topic, but if you truly want to audit something, don't audit kids. Audit me, my courses at the high school, to be rigorous enough to the state. So my Algebra 2 class is a rigorous class. My ELA 3 is a rigorous. Don't do it to the kids. They've got plenty on their plate. They've taken the test. They did pass it. They didn't pass it with the score that you want. Okay, great. Why? Maybe it's because I'm 9th and 10th grade. And again, I'm not blaming my staff. Please do not think I'm doing that at all. I'm saying don't blame children and have them do more, because that's what that is.
I'll put something together and share it with you before.
Thanks, John.
So my suggestion to you would be, as you're going through this, and I know we all think of MCAS as this municipal testing thing. It's a millions and millions and millions of dollar business. This is a business. Make no mistake about it. To answer one of your questions, well, what about these alternative assessments? Why don't we do those? Because that's not where the money is, right? I always say, follow the money, you'll figure out what the answer is. So that's what we're looking at here. This is why, whatever it was 4 years ago, they said, well, we should change the test, because they had to sell another test. There had to be another multi-millions of dollars of, you know, whatever test given out. That's how this works. And to think otherwise is being naive. This is exactly what this is about. Make no mistake about it.
That's interesting because we're having the same conversation about Cardinal DESE's overreach with that as well. So,
For the first time ever.
first time ever. But thank you all.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. All right, the next order of business is vote to approve a 3-year contract with the custodial union for the MOA.
Yes, thank you. We negotiated with the local 1702 State Council 93, American Federation of State County Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, since I think January, February, we decided to meet Wade and myself on your behalf. This is a 3-year contract, and I'll go through the big picture line items. There is an increase in longevity. There is a complete change that's, I think, really important for both sides of the grievance procedure. There's a new evaluation process for custodians, which includes the principals with the director of facilities, or for the outside guys, the maintenance crew, the the director of facilities with the athletic director, because there's responsibilities there. Really thankful that they've joined me in recognizing that evaluations are important. And this is really the first BP, if you will, evaluation that we've had. We have changed to new employees and any existing employee wants to take it by a deadline to paid time off from 15 sick days and 3 personal days, or 18, to a total of 12 days only, thereby cutting back 6 days per year. And then we've also had the agency service fee that you see there. The proposal for the paid time off is including the capping of the vacation time at 20 days as well. And then the discipline and discharge procedure, which now has the oral review, the written warning, the suspension, and potential discharge process, which is also can go to arbitration, of course, that's under finding. And then the salary scale, which comes in with a 222 and an adjustment in each of the years, thereby allowing us to be quite frankly more competitive, but it will still put us underneath some of the area schools that we've lost custodians to in the past. They have voted this unanimously, and I ask the support of the school committee as well.
It was great work.
Yeah, it's one of our more thorough ones in terms of aligning with the other things that we've asked from our teachers, our paras, our administrative assistants. So every union now has a very clear assessment rubric for its employees for the district. To be quite honest with the first time in that district.
It's great.
On the, I can probably figure it out. Okay, any other questions or comments? Entertain a motion to approve the 3-year contract as written and presented. So, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. This contract starts on the 1st of July and the 3 years. I appreciate the work of the custodial team as well. My colleague Wade support Matt in the process. There is a signature page there for the chairman to sign.
Sorry,
Okay, thank you.
all right, next order of business is vote to approve appointment of new school business administrator.
Christine, if you'd like to come up, please, and have a seat. Folks, this is Christine Hadfield. Christine has been a loyal employee of Norton Public Schools since February. Christine has almost 10 years at Keith Tech as the Assistant Director of Finance. With our colleague here jumping ship, we did post outside, but we started to have some conversations internally, not only about how Christine has fit in a short time, but her relevant experience to the position. As you know, we have grown business managers here through the years. Some have come with more experience, some have come with actually less experience, and now are working in bigger districts and all of that. But I'm really happy that Christine has not only joined us with the work that she's done, but some of the things she wants to continue to do. As you know, this is a recommendation for hire from the superintendent to the school committee, and you can vote it up or vote it down. Christine will have a mentor that the district will pay for. That should always be part of a first year of business manager, even superintendents have them, principals. And then go through and complete her certification, which is not too far away, which I'm really happy about. And I'll turn it over to you folks.
Okay, any questions?
Well, Laura said very well, if I'm being honest. Yeah, in all seriousness, you got a high bar to meet, but not to make you nervous about it. Yeah, you did a great job, honestly. It wasn't so much a question for you as I wanted to take a jab.
Christine is also a taxpayer in the town of Norton and has 2 children at the LGN. So I'm hoping more than 4 years, but I'm hoping more long term because of her connection to the community. And one of the reasons why she joined us from her last position was really to be closer to home and family. So this could be a very, very good long term solution for Norton Public Schools. So she's ready.
Well, congratulations, first of all. I would say welcome to the district, but we'll just welcome you to the new office. You know, as mentioned, you know, Matt's okay. But in any sense,
He's great until June 30th. After that, we blame everything on him. Because
That's
2
what
years,
happens.
2 years of blaming.
you know, it's a win-win for us, for you, for the district. So we welcome you with open arms. We look forward to you in your role. And congratulations again.
But you know what our budget's going to be, right?
Yeah, it was the same thing.
I guess the question, who will be the mentor? Do we have that established yet?
Yeah, so we will go out. What we typically do is we find either an active mentor who has a contract that allows for them to work with one, or we go with a recently retired person who's done it for 30 years and is looking to help someone who's newer. You know, the interesting thing is, unlike other situations where we've had to hire business managers, in this particular situation, somebody's actually been in that office consistently. And it's just now a matter of putting her style into it and so on. I can also tell you that just recently, I think it might have been Nick right before you came on, this professional paid the district 6 figures in her work to get into the weeds on some things that we've been doing. So I think that speaks about the caliber of the potential that we have here.
That was a job interview.
Yeah.
So I can say something nice about Matt because I, unlike you, I'm not overly, let's see.
Member-centric.
Yes, exactly. The numbers are so intense that I would go to Matt and I'd say, could you sort of dummy this down for me so I could understand what lanes and steps and all of that and the numbers and everything. So thank you, Matt, for always, always teaching me. And I think I'm a little bit better, right, with the budget now? So Christine, I really am excited to sort of work with you because I'm sure I'll be asking you a lot of questions too. Because that isn't sort of my forte, but it's been really, I think for me, getting to sort of understand the budget a little bit has really offered me insight into how complicated it is, especially in Norton when we don't always have enough money to sort of meet all of those needs. So I wish you a lot of luck. And maybe you can continue to find money somewhere for us. So.
Her resume actually reminds me of Lincoln.
It does. Yeah. It's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. It really
So,
was.
so this is a
And he
former.
was great. He was actually great until he left us. Not that he's the worst. He was the worst until Matt
To
came.
Matt's credit, he did make the font bigger on a lot of the.
He did.
Yeah. I think so, and Christine, I'll give it up to you to say a few words. The other thing too is she's had experience on the town side as an assistant town accountant, which will allow for those relationships to also be established as well. So.
Bridgewater State grad should be fine.
Yes. Exactly. So, any thoughts?
I'm just very excited. I'm very happy to be in this community. The moment I started here, I realized how welcoming everybody was and just extremely nice. And I love everyone I work with, and I'm really excited to start my administrative role here in town. So.
I do think it's a really great district to work in, actually. In all honesty, and I'm not just saying that. I think Joe's team as a whole is absolutely excellent. I've never had an issue going to anybody and getting information out of them. It's been a very productive, I guess, symbiotic relationship over all the years. So I know you're stepping into a very, very good situation.
So it requires a vote of the committee.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the appointment of the new business administrator. So, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Aha, we got her. Sucker.
I just want to say to you, Dr. Betta, this is great work to move quickly on this because I know, yes, Matt is leaving. Yes, we like Matt. We like to give him some heckling. But with the way our district is right now, with our ongoing projects, with a lot of moving parts, I think this is a great hire for you and your team. So I want to thank you for that as well.
Yeah, Christine's already started to attend meetings for the athletic complex and train, and working with Matt, already doing some transition stuff. The other thing I think that's important is there aren't a lot of people interested in going into this area, so there isn't. There are nights, there are long hours, there are bad budgets, there are projects that come out of the way. You're dealing with elected officials, appointed officials, town hall, and all of that. So I think the industry is going to go through some real headaches over the next few years. So I appreciate the kind words, but that's one of the reasons why I do it. So
Definitely trial and fire.
Yeah.
What's going on with it?
yep.
Next order is review and vote on potential changes to the school calendar.
Thank you. Our wonderful town clerk, who does an awesome job, is requested that we could be considering the following 2 changes. The first one is that, once again, the primary date is Tuesday, September 6th, which is also our first day with students. There's a request that may not be open because she's anticipating numbers of people voting. We vote at one school, the middle school. And the second day, which currently is also a regular work day for us, is November 8th, which is the election day. If you were to move these two, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but I believe this moves the last day of school to the 16th without any snow days. And then the 5 calendar days we have to add to that would be the 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 26th. So if we had 5 snow days, we'd be on the 26th, which is pretty late. I don't anticipate that, but we have to establish the calendar that way. The only other thing to do would be to consider making a decision for the first day of school right away and holding off on what do we think it's going to look like for November 8th. And then we can always just have a day off. There's only one school. That's a little tricky because we have service delivery bottles that are problematic.
Joe, didn't the election sort of at the middle school really solve some of those concerns we had, because we were able to really sort of kind of keep everybody away from the actual
Yeah, the
students?
big one for me is actually, I have more concerns about the Tuesday in September than I do the
Because that's
Tuesday in
2 days
November.
off that week.
Because it breaks up our November pretty significantly. It would cost the town limited funds if we're not here on the 6th, which is a good thing. And then we could, just go with it on the 8th, which might actually be bigger than the primary, but I mean, I don't know. Some of the races around here aren't very competitive right now. So I'm just not seeing a lot, and we don't have a local election during those times. So
I'm not a huge fan of frankly moving either day. I mean, however the committee will. I mean, this is why we moved the election and did all this work and we looked at alternative sites, because parking's not great over that side of this school, but it's closed off, it's manageable, and that's what everybody looked for when we moved these. We looked at every other alternative we could, including some that's not on school property, and now 4 years later we have to do it again, which, I mean, the first day of school to me isn't a huge issue either way. I have a hard time with that week in November having 2 days off, and that's
because we already have Friday for Veterans Day.
Personally, I would say no to moving the first day of school, because we've already done that.
Is there a day where we can make up a day somewhere, or no? Just
No.
looking at this quickly?
No, that's been the thing, is that we end up, the only way to do it.
Why can't we do the 14th of April, PD? Why can't we scrap that?
It still counts as a school day.
Still counts as a school.
We wouldn't get a whole day.
No.
But it doesn't extend that. Oh, wait, you're saying?
That's the 14th of April is
That's
an
an
early release day.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So the only other option, and we didn't discuss it, but you see August 30th and 31st.
Yeah.
We could potentially have Welcome Back Day on the 30th, and then move the staff professional development to the 8th, but then that's November, but that still creates that breakup of the week. If we do the professional development and move it to the 6th, we still have people, you know, it doesn't save us a day.
What do other districts do?
So there are districts that completely close, but that's because they have, they utilize all of their elementary schools usually too, as
For both
precincts.
elections?
Yeah, like for example, my hometown has 8 precincts and 7 buildings. So they have one precinct that has 2 precincts 4 and 5, and then the other 1 through 3 and 6, 7, and 8 are all at the middle school and the elementary schools.
Do we know if it would be better or worse to do a half day on the 8th? That would solve us from going into that extra week. We'd still have it, so I don't know if that's an option.
Most of the issues that happens is people trying to vote in the morning while we're coming in the morning.
What if we get a late start?
We'd have to work out some contract with the bus company.
Part of me feels like when we had this conversation in depth some years ago, that the reason why we moved out of the high school was so that we could do both voting and school
The high
day.
school
at the
gym is
same time.
external. This is an external.
Right, so it had an external sort of voting area, it has an external entrance and exit. I think that when we had done it once before, there was really good sort of security to make sure that any adult coming into the building was not going beyond sort of the hallway to enter into the school. I mean, we might have to just make sure that that's the way it would still be, but I feel maybe my memory's not correct, but I think that was sort of one of the specific reasons why we moved the location, was because we couldn't manage having days off for voting. So I'm not sure if anybody remembers those in-depth conversations, and I know that Lucia is great, and I know she was looking at a lot of different options back then of actually moving voting outside of even our schools, and there just isn't an option. So I think that this was our sort of nice compromise. So I mean, maybe we just need to see how it goes. I mean,
So we've always done the presidential election in November as a PD day, or we just closed.
right.
Just because we know that day is just people voting that day. I mean,
I'm not sure that state elections, though, that don't really have a lot of contested races are that.
It really is close to primaries.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like the primary.
So I would like to, I mean, that would be sort of my stance, is that we see how it works.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if everybody agrees,
I'm
but
pretty agnostic on it, to be honest with you. I don't really care, quite honestly. You know, I mean, Carolyn is absolutely right. I think that was the purpose. So
Okay. I'll inform you.
I don't think that the primary will be well attended, quite frankly. I don't think the state election is going to be a real monitor either. So,
and I really appreciate that you're just kind of thinking ahead and really wanting to support kind of our students. So if we could make sure we thank her for that.
I will.
So we don't.
You don't have to do anything.
All right, the next order of business is the second reading and vote on the non-discrimination and harassment. Dr. Bannon.
So you have the non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation, the sexual harassment, the student non-discriminatory policy, including harassment and retaliation, and the harassment of students, as recommended, the council for MASC, and then the changes that you made last time, and we held off to take a vote. So this would be the night that you vote on it. You do have to take, you should take them one by one.
What? Somebody just update me if I made this or whatever. Why is this all changing? Like, has something happened in our schools that we need to be worried about?
No, it wasn't our schools. It was, it came out of the major one, is we made a change on the AC one, the first one. It is we slashed this commitment to in 1 through 6.
Yep.
That's the change that the committee wanted to make. In the second one, ACAB and the ACR and the last one, those were all came through the Massachusetts Association of School Committees based on cases and situations through the Attorney General's office. And those were the recommendations that were made. So, for example, outlining specifically who the Title IX coordinator is with names and numbers, and just not saying you have a Title IX coordinator, stuff like that. And then the student non-discrimination policy was specific to students because they're outlining that everybody in the school is under the policy, but because the school is made up of students, including minors, that they should have their own distinct policy. There isn't huge lingo changes from the original policy that the Norton School Committee accepted back in 2021 and I think 2020, 2 years back. So these are revisions basically. So you have to have, by statute, you have to have a sexual harassment policy. By statute, you have to have a non-discrimination policy. By statute, you have to have the harassment of students policy. So that's where it comes from.
Has our legal looked at this?
Our legal did not look at it. It came directly from MASC's legal who looked at it.
Any other questions, comments? So you want each of these as a separate vote?
Actually, you can just vote them. They're all under the same topic, so you can make it as one motion.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the non-discrimination and harassment policies as presented.
So,
For a second. Second. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Can you abstain?
So it's 301, right?
Correct. All right, next order is topics not reasonably anticipated.
Just remind the school committee that class night is the 31st at 7 p.m. at Norton High School, and the graduation is on the 2nd at 6 p.m. You can be there by 5:30. That's at Xfinity. When you come in, you just follow it all the way to the back and come into the backstage area. I also, if you would indulge me for a second, we are hurting in education right now, grounded in the incidents that are taking place in our nation, and I'm going to act only from the perspective of being your superintendent and not from the politics of this issue. But once again, you have elementary children who's no longer will be with us, families and community that is broken in Uvalde, Texas. Today we were at the superintendent's spring meeting, and my colleague who was presenting, it was hard for him to get the words out. This one is once again hit home. And unfortunately, our nation is so divided politically on this issue. But we have to find a way. We have to find a way around all of the political issues and the mental health that we know is a concern. My biggest concern is that it's been a while since I've gotten so many emails, right? The next day, it was a good amount of parent emails about what is our security, what are we doing? As the committee knows, and Nick, I'll bring you up to date and meet if you want. We have utilized our Alice protocol, our Norton Police, our SROs, and an executive session, as you know, to discuss what we do, what our crisis plan is. I just want to assure our parents that that's just something that we have a commitment to, as not only as an administration and school committee, but as I look at one of my staff members that here. This is a big thing for us. This is not a topic that Norton Public Schools talks about only when there's an unfortunate situation. We are really trying to work hard to make sure that doors are locked, that we're buzzing people in. We're using the Raptor, which is the ID check. And I know that my staff is hurting about this. We know our kids are coming in with a lot of questions. We know that there are kids that are taking final exams this week as seniors that are struggling with that because of the anxiety that this brings out. And then lastly, to the student body, you know, we want to make sure that they feel safe, but we also want to make sure that they do the right thing when they act, when they hear something. And I can tell you that that happens in Norton, that Norton students do come forward and really go to the adult and say, I heard this, I don't know if it's true or not, but I just feel like I need to say it. So I want to thank the students of Norton who continuously do that and here, because I think that speaks volumes to what parents are doing at home and what we're trying to do in the classroom. I can't imagine having my 10-year-old daughter, when she was 10, be involved in a situation like this. And I know all of you are parents in the district with young children, some of us with older children. But my heart breaks for those families. You know, may we all find a way to resolve these issues I'll just leave it there. I just want the community to know that we are continuously working on this topic. I cannot make you any guarantees. You've heard me say this before. All I can do is work my butt off to make sure we're doing the right thing every day as much as I can control, I can offer, and think outside the box. I will tell you, thanks to Wade's work through the years, we're going to have to spend some money going forward as well. And we're going to have to continue to do our upgrades every year in our budget like we have been doing. You know, the as I call it, the non-sexy part of the budget, you know, the facilities part.
Yeah.
So you'll be seeing some further enhancements in that going forward. And not because of this, we're already working on it. But we are continuously trying to make sure that our staff is safe and our kids. That's it. I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support.
You know, I think one thing that is clearly evident for this committee, for our administration, is the relationship we've built with the North Police Department.
Well said.
Is great. We have two great SROs that do a great job. As Dr. Bayer said, there is never any guarantees, but we can only do our best. We'll continue to do our best on behalf of our staff and students. You know, when there was this climate of, you know, police shouldn't be in schools and, you know, to think that way, I think is somewhat narrow-minded. It never crossed our minds to remove our SROs. I think they've become just as part of a school culture as, you know, a teacher or a para or a custodial. You know, our two SROs are great, and I'm thankful we have presence. It would never be something I would consider to have them not be in our schools. So, you know, it's challenging times for sure, and all of us have children that are living through this time. It's quite different from when we were children. We didn't have some of these drills that these kids have to go through now. But we will continue as a committee, as an administration, as staff, to keep the students as safe as we possibly can with our resources that we have.
Thank you. You're doing a building walkthrough, so you'll not be coming back after you adjourn.
Anything else from the committee? Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn the school committee meeting, not return to open. So, there's a second. All those in favor? Aye. Have a good night. Thank you.